All right, Chapter 7 The Apprentice. Roderick Barnabas Northrop was born on October 23rd, 1582, in Whitechapel, East London, the son of Alistair Northrop, a noted alchemist and inventor, and Mary Northrop, who took in washing and to make ends meet so her husband could be free to pursue his experiments. Mary died of plague when her son was only 7. Broken-hearted, Alistair lost himself in his work, and Roddy was left to fend for himself in a poor and sometimes dangerous district of London outside the protection of the city walls. How come you weren't rich? Cooper interrupts Roddy's account of his life. I thought alchemists could turn other metals into gold. Father was a brilliant alchemist, Roddy says stoutly. 'Twas he who first discovered that gold is gold and lead is lead, and no boiling fire, nor druid incantation, nor secret potion changeth that bitter fact. Verily, where were his achievements so great that he will never be forgotten. I hate to tell you this, Cooper ventures, but you might be a little wrong about that. There's no Alistair Northrop on Wikipedia. The ghost frowns. It's like everything everybody's knows about anything, and probably a lot of stuff they're not too sure about. Roddy looks crestfallen. Oh, cruel world, to erase the accomplishments of a great inventor merely because his inventions all failed. Cooper tries to be gentle. Well, if his inventions never worked, then what did he really invent? Roddy digs in his heels. Many of the greatest miracles in your world began in Father's laboratory. The magnificence of your school bus, Father envisioned a great carriage powered not by horses, but by the force of invisible to the eye. He also imagined a magical window. One doth look through the glass and behold not what it is on the other side, but another place entirely. Is that not your television? Well, I wouldn't go that far, Cooper begins. And this phone, that is my prison, the ghost continues. It's not merely Father's magical window of a smaller size so that it may be carried in the hand. Not exactly. So if thy Wikipedia hath forgotten Alistair Northrop, 'tis because the soldiers and magistrates believed that the bubbling cauldrons and many-colored flames coming from his laboratory hath created the plague. In their ignorance, they tried him as a warlock, leaving lesser men to complete his greater projects. A warlock, Cooper echoes. That's bad, right? Very bad. Roddy nods gravely. So bad that I was barred from working with mine own father. I was indentured to Mannering and Brown as printer's apprentice. While father stood trial for his life, I could not speak up for him. Mine employers would not grant me leave to see him before the execution. Shame turns Cooper's cheeks hot. His own complaints, the frequent moves he stints as the new what's his face in town after town are pretty small compared to what Roddy had to suffer. Losing both parents, a job he hated, and finally the plague, a terrible and painful end. I guess it stank to be a kid in your time, he offers lamely. Alas, if only the unpleasant smell was the worst of it, Roddy tells him. Chores that last through the dawn, mountains of paper to daunt Hercules himself, the stain of ink on my hands, my blouse, even my very tongue. And should the slightest comma be out of place, cruel Mr. Mannering would beat me with the bone handle of his walking stick. Sounds like a pretty crummy life. Roddy shakes his head. I had not the bread for crumbs, only a thin soup Mrs. Mannering made from supper scraps. Those were dark days, Cooper Vega. The agony of hunger rivals even that of the plague. Many's the time I thought of running away to sea, yet a sailor once told me there were weevils in the biscuits. A full belly is surely a fine thing, but not that if that belly is full of weevils. Noddy resumes his story. His apprenticeship is the print shop lasted through 1596. What choice did he have? He was in a destitute orphan, the son of a disgraced warlock. If not for Mannering and Brown, he surely would have starved. His days began at dawn and stretched far into the night. It was back-breaking work, setting type, cutting the quarto-sized sheets into individual pages and binding them into book form. Mr. Mannering was a harsh employer, never sparing with his bone-handled walking stick, especially when he would stagger back into the shop after a meal that consisted mostly of wine. I'll throw thee out on the street, vile son of the sorcerer, he would spit at Roddy. Thou wouldst rot in the gutter not for my kindness. Roddy knew kindness had nothing to do with it. Mannering needed his thin fingers, which were deft with the tiny type of the printing press. His small hands and the fact that Alistair Northrop had taught his son the rare skills of reading and writing made Roddy the perfect apprentice for those days. While his employer was in the tavern, Roddy eagerly read through the shop's freshly bound books. In those days, the London theatre scene was booming, so most of the Mannering